Our strength is in the private sector. It's not in government. It's what we've seen begin to bubble back up in America over the last several months, last year, as people realize that irresponsible politicians have taken our country to the brink of an economic cliff. It's almost embarrassing to realize that we are on our knees to the nations of the Middle East for the energy we need to run our economy, to create our jobs, and even take our food to market. Yet this administration continues to make it harder and harder to develop our own energy supplies. Have they not looked at what's happening in the Middle East? Do they really want to bet our future on what's happening in the Middle East, the ability of us to get energy from them? They've put us on our knees to China with $14 trillion in debt and plans to double that. If China doesn't lend us money, we can't pay our bills. 42 cents out of every dollar we spend now is borrowed money. Yet the President proposed more spending and had the audacity to look America in the eye and said he was cutting spending. He's not. But a country of destiny needs to be able to control our own destiny. We can't be on our knees to the rest of the world for our very survival. But this is not doomsday, and what we're talking about doing is not something that's impossible. There are freedom solutions, and I just want to mention a few of them because so many people say this is an impossible task. We can't deal with our debt. America has seen its best days. But I can promise you we've not seen our best days if we will return to those principles that made us great in the first place. Just think of a few areas like energy, where we're sitting as a country on the biggest energy sources in the whole world. More natural gas than anywhere in the world. Over 100-year supply. Natural gas, which is a third less polluting than gasoline or coal, that can run cars and trucks if we have an abundant supply. But the President has made it harder, and even his budget puts more taxes on bringing that to market. But folks, the government doesn't need to spend any money on that. All we need to do is release the ability of our country to produce our own oil and natural gas. We would stop exporting $500 billion a year in trade deficit. The revenue that would come to states like North Carolina and South Carolina if we went after the natural gas that's off of our shore. What that would do to revenue to the federal government, the thousands of jobs that it would create around the country. It's a freedom solution. It's not about what the government has to do. It's about what the government has to let go. And just let our country be free and to use the resources we have to build our opportunities. You can see it in other areas like education, where the federal government provides less than 10% of the funding for our public schools, but over 50% of the administrative costs through all the bureaucracy and paperwork we require. We could close the Department of Education, cut off all funding. Education, we're talking about increasing it. If the federal government did not have a Department of Education and cut all of our spending and let the states go, the kind of things you're starting to hear about in North Carolina, there would be more money in the classroom than there is today without any spending for the federal government. Instead of sending 18 cents of every gallon of taxes on gasoline to Washington and then fighting to get it back with all the rules and regulation that raise the cost of construction, we could send 3 cents for federal highways, keep the rest in North Carolina, make our own decisions, have more money for roads and infrastructure. That's a freedom solution that doesn't cost the taxpayer anything. It returns money here. So folks, you can look across the board, the entitlement programs, Social Security. If we just save part of what we put into Social Security instead of spending it all, we could begin to develop accounts for people that would have real money in them when people retire. And in health care, we've seen with Medicaid that's bankrupting states. If we just block grant back to states, we tested it with Rhode Island, with 15% less money, they serve more people in a better way than they do today because it's a freedom solution. It didn't cost the taxpayers anything. Folks, the solutions are there if we can just get people in office in Washington that understand America and understand how it works. And most of all, understand that we're a nation of destiny. And we're a nation that has been so blessed that we cannot allow that blessing to leave by bankrupting our country and continuing to allow people who are in Washington now to continue to run it. We saw the last election that we could take back over the House of Representatives. And not only with Republicans, but with Republicans that have the fear of people behind them, that really are going to do what they promise they're going to do. And we got some new recruits in the Senate that are standing up for freedom. In the next election, we need more. But more than anything else, we need people who are standing up now as Republicans who are running for president, who understand that it's the government, as Ronald Reagan said, is not the solution to our problems, it is the problem. And the less that we can get the federal government to do, the better off America is going to be right now. Our government needs to protect us, needs to make sure we have the best business environment in the world, keep our promises to seniors who paid in these programs, and beyond that, there's not a lot the federal government has proved it can do well or cost effectively. America is going to be a better nation than it's ever been if the people who woke up last year don't push the snooze button and go back to sleep.
That's right.
Because folks, frankly, I'm here because my freedom and that of my children and grandchildren is in your hands much more than it is in mine. The power in this country is in your hands right now to elect people here in North Carolina that can make a difference and to send people for the House and the Senate who will make those decisions that are being made by governors across the country right now. It won't be easy to cut the kind of things that need to be cut because of some federal employees. You see what happens in Wisconsin, in New Jersey. But there are governors with the spine who stand up because the people are standing behind them. And as long as you stand behind these representatives and these senators here in North Carolina, the congressmen you send to join us, we have a chance at a brighter future than any of us have ever imagined. I'm thankful that Robin is willing to come back here and get back in the fray. He recognizes that we need to bring the establishment Republican Party to embrace the principles and the passion of the Tea Parties and the grassroots activists all across the state here. Because it's not about you becoming Republicans. It's about Republicans returning to their roots, what you're talking about. I'm here to thank you. Let's just remember the one thing. If you take back control of this country, America will fulfill its destiny. Thank you.